Well, the issue of census has always been a controversial one in this country. Of course, the last census was how many years ago? 19 years ago. And we were supposed to have census at least every 10 years. The idea of the census is not that it is not just an exercise. It's an exercise that must be done so that it will aid you in national planning. You ought to know how many Nigerians there are. If you know how many Nigerians there are, where they are, it will help you in planning how to distribute the resources, the infrastructure, and everything. It will help make for effective governance. But like everything we've done in this country, we've found ourselves in a situation where something as basic as knowing how many we are has been so politicized that since the 1960s, there's no census that has been accepted across board as being honest, legitimate, and therefore we continue having this issue. Of course, Jonathan wanted to have a census and appointed the former managing director of Nigerian Breweries, says Festus Odimegwu. Of course, Festus made a comment, which is basically what I've said now, that there has never been a true census in this country. The then governor of Kano State, Kwakwanso, had to give Jonathan an ultimatum that unless Festus Odimegwu is sacked, and of course Odimegwu was sacked, and that scuttled it. Buhari came on board and said he was going to organize a census. As at last year, when, as at 2023, when that move was stalled, we were told that already 200 billion naira has been spent, put into the project. Now, they called it off on the schools that you can't be having a census the same year that they're going to have elections, and therefore that it will be better not to leave it for the incoming administration. Now, Tinubu is there, again promising us that he's going to have a census. The question to ask is if they will have the political will, because it all boils down to political will. We now have tools that could be used in effectively counting Nigerians, the number of Nigerians there are. There are some biometric techniques that can be deployed in knowing who is where. But you know, because in a country where resources are distributed on the basis of population, all we see is that at the end of the day, everybody is jostling to inflate the number of people there are in his or her own region. Those in the north will want to continue this belief that has been there, that there are more people in the north than there are in the south. The southeast, that used to be one of the three major ethnic nations, all of a sudden, the southeast is being reduced to a minority in the country now. And it is all part of the politics of the census, debilitating politics that does not take into account the major reason for why we should know how many Nigerians there are. So I just hope and pray that President Tinubu will muster the political will to see to an end, a conclusive end, that we this time count ourselves honestly, so as to bring out a figure that people can see. Don't forget, after the last lesson, even Lagos State took it upon themselves to do their own census, to know how many people there are in Lagos. So I hope we don't get to that level again where every state will be forced to also carry out its own census, because nobody is going to believe what comes out of the census conducted by the federal government. I just hope and pray that even if this is the only thing President Tinubu sees through, that he should be able to conduct a national census that will be credible, that people can say, okay. Now, every day you hear all manner of figures. Now, some say Nigerians are 200 million people, some say it is 220, some even have gone as high as telling us that we are now 240 million. And all these things are estimations. Nobody can say really how many Nigerians there are, and it doesn't make sense. Tinubu should see this to a conclusive end, must make sure that the census works. That's my take on it.
Well, very deep, very incisive there. Let's look at another one very quickly before we go to the next paper. Tinubu task National Assembly, we've taken that. Tinubu considers committee for fresh census. Tinubu task National Assembly on workable tax law. That's the one we've also seen. But let's leave the Guardian now. Let's go to another newspaper. Let's do the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune has on front page there, APC has left me, El-Rufai cries out. It says Tinubu not Senate rejected his ministerial nomination, faults implementation of president's economic policies, hints of possibility of joining another political platform, and then rules out PDP. Well, Aiyedatiwa sworn as Ondo governor. Please begin probe as residents claim 22 killed in Edo clashes. And why Nigerian, anyway, that's a Nigerian Tribune story. Let's also look at one last one before we go to you. Tax reform bills, future of Nigeria's Senate president. Let's take a look at this, the tax reform bills. The Senate had a plenary just yesterday, and the Senate president was talking tough where he said that Nigerians want good hospitals, roads, and so on, but they have refused to pay their taxes. I don't know what you think about that statement.
I don't want to bother myself with what Akpabio says.
Okay, but forgetting Akpabio, we have one of the lowest tax to GDP ratios in Africa.
Agreed. But the truth of the matter is that what does the Nigerian state offer the citizens that should spur you to pay your tax, as it were? The issue is that, for me, I think it is an egg and chicken kind of debate. Which one should come first? If Nigerians know that at the end of the day, when you pay your tax, you will get, the state will provide you what the state ought to provide you. I'm not too sure that a lot of people will need a lot of persuasion to go and pay their tax. But where you pay your tax and you find out that it has been embezzled, and the political class, those in the leadership cadre in this country, continue getting fat when they are telling you to tighten your belt. You provide your own water, you dig a borehole, you provide schools for your children, hospital you provide for yourself, the medical services you pay, you even build roads, you contribute money to build roads wherever you live, and you also provide your own security. What does the government really do for the people that Akpabio is talking about? Akpabio lives, in fact, in the last 25 years or thereabout, because when we started this democracy in 1999, Akpabio was first a commissioner in Akwa Ibom State before he became a governor. After the governorship, he went to the Senate, then went to the Senate, and then couldn't come back for a second term, and he became a minister. Now he is back in the Senate and is the country's #3 citizen. He's the Senate president. He has a convoy that is longer than that of, that's in fact, he has a convoy that is longer than River Niger. And you ask yourself, what does Akpabio contribute in terms of in real terms to Nigeria, that he gets disproportionately what he takes out of the country? And this is a man who is talking about Nigerians not paying taxes and they expect the government to do all for them. The government pays his bill, has been paying his bill in the last 25 years. So I am all for tax. People should pay tax because there's no other way in any country that wants to develop. It is the taxes, and it is because of the people pay taxes that are used for development that you can now look up to your government and say, be accountable. But here, the government is not responsible to the people.
And you're right, like you mentioned hospitals and all of that. I recall I was hosting an event and they were talking about taxes. And one of the keynote speakers talked about a gentleman that was from Sweden. He lost his father at a very young age. And in Sweden, it's almost sacrilegious. It's a thing of shame for you not to pay your tax. And he said, you know, they pay high taxes, but they never felt the absence of their father. The state took care of them. And it never felt like there was no father figure in the house. They didn't lack for one moment. That's because of the collective good and because of paying taxes. That's for a system that works, a system where there's verifiable empirical evidence of what your taxes are doing for you. Look at Lagos, for example. The highest IGR in expense in Nigeria, more than 21 states combined. But you drove down here and you drive at night, no street lights. The streets are almost like the streets of Baghdad. It's quite sad.
Look, Benga, like you said, in countries, particularly the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, and all that, you don't even need to persuade anybody to pay tax because the people know where the money is going to and what the people, the leaders, are doing with the money, if it in terms of education of your children or whatever. So when our governments become responsible, look, in a country where there is no difference between public and private purse, all the governors are behaving like emperors, no accountability, and at the end of the day, nobody is called to account for how you have used the resources of the people, and you expect the people to simply continue bringing out their money to fund private consumption of those who are called upon to superintend. It's a sad one. I am all for the paying of taxes, but I think it is also high time that the government showed us in real terms what those monies are used for and how they are deployed. The issue now is that even they go and borrow money in our name. And at the end of the day, Buhari told us that he got us back into the debt hole because he was building infrastructure. 2 years down the road, where are the infrastructure that Buhari said he constructed?
Can be found.
Where are the roads?
It can be found. Very quickly, I'd like us to look at the Punch before we wrap things up. There's a big story on the front page of the Punch. Miranda may step down as a candidate panel shortlist 7. What's your take on this?
My take on this is that it goes back to what I've always argued, that there's no democracy in this country. What we have is not the rule of law, it is the rule of strong men. So what has happened in Lagos State is that the impeachment of the former speaker, Obasa, which was legal, constitutional. Obasa said that he went to court now because that the process was illegal. Yet, as we speak, Obasa has not been able to tell anybody what constitutes an illegality.
The courts will decide.
In the process that took him out. Now, after all manner of maneuverings, to the extent that last week the DSS invaded and locked up all the offices, Miranda has been so harassed that she even broke down and wept uncontrollably. The only reason why this thing is going on is that the leader, and the leader, the man who owns Lagos, is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The impeachment did not go down well with him. If it did, who is Obasa, and who are the members of the GSC? The president still calls the shot in Lagos. He has not taken off his eyes off the politics of Lagos. So I don't know whether they are going to forcefully get out Miranda. I understand that now part of the reason why they want her out is because she also comes from the same zone where the governor comes from. And therefore,
how do these things even matter in the grand scheme of things?
Are we not in a country where the president and the vice president are all Muslims? So but the truth of the matter is that what has led to this impasse that we have, look, in a House of Assembly of about 40 members, we had 36 came and say, this is our speaker. And how many weeks down the road, the same 36 came and passed a vote of confidence in the speaker. So what is democracy all about, if not it is what the people want? The members of the House of Assembly overwhelmingly say this is our speaker, and people outside there are determining who the speaker is and who
non-elected people.
Look, we don't have a democracy, so-called, in this country, and unless and until we begin to build the rule of law and not the rule of strong men, people who control fiefdoms, political fiefdoms, I don't think this democracy will go too far.
Well, well said. We've been able to touch on these papers this morning. If you have any conversation that you'd like to start off with what we just looked at in terms of the front pages, you might want to do the rest right there on the social media space. Thank you so much, Mr. Ikechukwu Amaechi, for being here with us.
Thank you as always.
Thank you, Joe. Except that you guys did not talk about the El Rufai bombshell yesterday, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
he's always talking. I'm sure the next time I hear him, I've said something.
All right, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Ipman. There seems to be fuel scarcity looming. We'll find out every single thing you need to know about it in a moment.